I'm going to talk a little bit about creating lasting change. So first of all, what is change anyway? Well, it's an act or process through which something becomes different. And in this example, I'm talking about us becoming different. So change can actually be really challenging, and many people will prefer to not change and just stick with the status quo because it feels easier, even if that means remaining unhappy or unhealthy. But it just feels easier to stick with what you already know. Like, bad habits can be hard to give up because even though we know they're bad or they might make us feel bad, they're familiar. We know how they feel and we're used to it, so we stick with what we know, don't we? And we're almost conditioned in life to not want too much from life. When I told my grandparents that I wanted to leave my job as an investment professional and become a lifestyle coach, their response to me was, "You can't do that." And what they actually meant was, they can't do that. They can't do that change. So when you try and implement change in your life, what you might find is you attract some comments from other people which are negative because they're projecting onto you what they are unable to do at that current time, and they might feel inferior or inadequate because they, as yet, haven't been able to find the courage and the commitment in order to create change in their lives. So unfortunately, this can be a common thing, but it's not actually a reflection of yourself. It's simply a projection of what they're thinking and what they are feeling. I wrote, when I talk about not wanting too much from life and how we're conditioned from that, I wrote a post about not accepting, like, just being fine, just being okay, and that actually we should want from life to be amazing, to be brilliant, to be great, and to be loving life. And one of the comments that came as a result of that was how people from the 60s are kind of brought up to not want too much, to not be happy, not to talk about yourself too much, not to love yourself too much, and the fear of being happy and that being taken away. And unfortunately, it's not just those in the 60s that were conditioned that way, because those behaviours are passed down the family line like an heirloom, and so those behaviours are taught to us as well. And I certainly grew up feeling like I shouldn't really talk too much about my achievements, and like people say, you love yourself. Well, we should love ourselves, and yet we're kind of conditioned to not love ourselves, and that in itself can be a real change, to want to learn to love yourself. So change is very difficult, but it is possible, and I myself am an example of that, because just over a year ago, I was sofa bound. I couldn't leave the house very often. A walk around the block was about as much as I could manage on a good day. A bad day was achieving a shower. And 1 year later, my life is completely different, and that's because I have very much focused on my mindset, and therefore the outlook on my life and my actual life has completely and utterly changed. So today I want to talk a little bit about change, and there are 5 neurological changes in the brain. So for example, if somebody wants to become fit and healthy, the environment in which they might do that would be the gym. So that's the environment. The behaviour is actually going to the gym. So they might commit to going to the gym 3 times a week. The capabilities is really about the knowledge. So they might learn a bit about nutrition. They might learn a bit about the best exercises for fat loss or to create muscle gain. So that's the capabilities, their understanding of what it is that they're trying to do. And then we've got values and beliefs. So values are what's important to us in life. One such example for me would be that I like to make sure I recycle as much as I can, because I think protecting the earth is really important, and that we need to be the change that we want to see. So your values, what's important to you in life, and your beliefs are what you believe about yourself, about the world, and about other people. So a really raw example would be that my belief is that the world is round. But a belief really is just a strongly held opinion. So if your values are being healthy, then that would be instrumental in change, and your belief might be that actually you can't do it, which would be limiting and would hold you back. And then of course there's your identity, which is, who am I? What am I all about? So they're the 5 neurological levels of change: environment, behaviour, capabilities, values and beliefs, and your identity. And I'm going to talk a little bit about each of those in detail. Now the thing is, People tend to focus on the environment and the behaviours and the capabilities. So going to the gym, being in the gym, and learning about nutrition and muscle, as per my example. But these are actually the weakest forms of change. And by focusing your efforts on these, what you'll end up with is short-lived change. It's not long-lasting. And what I'm talking about this evening is how to create long-lasting change. So where we really want to focus our efforts is on our values and our beliefs and our identity. So change comes from within, which you'll have picked up because it's about what's going on in our mind. So what are your values? Do you know what your values are? Put in the comments below, what are your values? And just to show that I do practice what I preach, I actually do these exercises myself. So I have a personal and a business journal, and I try to use them daily. So I wrote down a list of all the things that I want and that are important to me in order to understand what my values are. So I'll give you some examples whilst you're typing yours in the comments below. So for me, the things that are important in life are fun, love, creating memories, having experiences and sharing them with my friends and my family, connection with people, healing and health, because obviously I've had quite a difficult health journey, contribution, so actually contributing to life and to the world, travel, it's important to me to help others, for me to continue to grow, laughter, to be a mother, honesty, loyalty. I really want to live to 100, so that's one of my life goals, so that's important to me, and therefore it will impact the way in which I live my life. A job that I love, that's really important to me because we spend too much of our time at work to not enjoy it. I want to be a respected public speaker. I want to be heard because before I was afraid to put my voice out there. I want to continue to push myself. I want to have happy friends, a lasting relationship. This one might make you laugh. I've put fantastic sex on my list of wants. I want to be proud of myself because that's something I've struggled with in the past. I want to be creative. I want to create successful events because I want to find as many ways as possible to help as many women as possible, given my value of contribution and helping others. I want to be fit and I want my family to be happy. So they're in no particular order, but those are a list of things that are really important in my life and I've identified as my values. So they are examples of our values, my values, what's important to me in the life that I am living. And until I sat down and wrote those out, I had no idea how many things I wanted. Like I've got a big list here, I don't know if you can see that, but a big list of things that I wanted. And in the past, I'd have felt kind of greedy to want some of those things. But actually, I've decided it's my life and I get to decide what it is that I want and therefore what's important to me. So they are what is important to me and what I want. And I've also written down some other values. So examples, maybe not applicable to me, but might be more applicable to you. So religion and spirituality, loyalty, commitment, open-mindedness, honesty, innovation, humour, compassion, adventure, positivity, respect, courage, education, patriotism, service to others, and environmentalism. So there are a number of different values which don't necessarily fall into my list of wants and values, but might fall into yours. And it's a really useful exercise to actually sit down and understand what it is that you want from life, what's important to you. Because if you don't know, you've got hardly any chance of achieving it. What the mind can conceive, it can achieve. So if you've put it out there and you've identified within your own mind what it is that you want, you are giving yourself more of a chance to make changes in your life to ensure that you are aligned with your values. Because I think where stress and dissatisfaction and unhappiness comes from is when we are living a life that is not aligned to our values. It's a really important exercise to do, and so I do try to practice what I preach, and it's important to understand what's rattling around in your mind. Like 25% of your mind is conscious and 75% is subconscious, and until you really start rooting around in there, you don't know what's in there. And that's take me on to my next point, beliefs, which are strongly held opinions. So change comes from within, and the first step is actually understanding what are your opinions, what are your beliefs, and what are your values in life. And then there is your identity. So identity is, who am I? What am I all about? So in the past, my opinion, my identity is formed by my beliefs, yeah? So my beliefs about myself, and these would be called limiting beliefs, so beliefs that hold me back in life, whether I was boring, that I was not very clever, that I wasn't very pretty, that my body wasn't very nice, that I wasn't lovable, and that I wasn't worthy. So these were my limiting beliefs, and they shaped my identity about who I thought I was as a person. So basically I classified myself as a substandard person based on my beliefs. So this is why it's really important to take the time out to understand what your beliefs are and how that impacts who you think you are as a person. And it's really important to be brutally honest with yourself. I mean, I've sat there and I've done these what I wants and my beliefs about money, but I had to go away and then come back, because actually rooting around in the back of my mind, I found so many more than initially landed on the page. So why am I talking about focusing on your values, beliefs, and your identity when it comes to implementing change? I'm going to go back to the example of wanting to become fit and healthy. So where people tend to focus is on the environment, so going to the gym, their behaviours, actually going to the gym on a regular basis, maybe they commit to 3 times a week, and then their capabilities, so their knowledge around food and exercise. It's important to understand my beliefs and values which inform my opinion of myself, because if my belief is that I'm an overweight person and that I'm unable to implement change, then that forms my identity. Now, I've talked in the past about how the ego, so our subconscious, would rather be right than be happy. So my mind would rather prove to myself, yes, you are right about your opinion that you're overweight and you cannot stick to the gym, rather than allow me to implement changes and be happy. Yeah, the ego would rather be right than be happy. And you can call your ego your subconscious or your ego, but it would rather be right than be happy. So if my belief is that I am overweight and that I'm unable to stick to going to the gym, then no matter how many times I go to the gym and how many times I start going on a diet, I will always revert to confirm my belief, which is why people start diets or they start going to the gym and then they stop, because they are focusing on the weakest forms of change, the environment, behaviour and the capabilities. Where you get lasting change is by focusing on what your beliefs about the world, people and yourself are, which inform your identity. Who am I? What am I all about? So how do we change our beliefs? Well, first of all, we have to take the time to identify what our beliefs are and what that means in terms of our identity, who we think we are. And then we need to decide, well, what is it that I actually want to believe about myself? What is my true voice? What do I really want to believe about myself? When you've identified, as I did, about the money situation, what my current beliefs are and what I want to believe, then you need to find a way to convert from your old beliefs, which are limiting and holding you back, to your current beliefs, which are going to allow you to excel in life. So the way that I will change my beliefs about money is to rewrite them in my head. So I have got these affirmations here. They're now called affirmations because they're my beliefs, and I'm going to affirm that to myself every single day. I'm going to look in the mirror and I'm going to tell my subconscious my new beliefs about money, and I'm going to say them over and over and over again on a daily basis until my mind has rewritten those beliefs in my mind. Now, they will feel uncomfortable to start with because they are opposed to my current beliefs. Yeah, but I have decided that I want to believe these new things, and so I'm going to keep saying them until I believe them. Now, does anybody here do affirmations? I've been doing them for a year now, and I tend to do them at night. If I've got something I want to focus on, I'll do them at other times as well. So in the past, I've done presentations and I felt a bit nervous beforehand. So I have a mirror in my hallway, and every time I walk past it, I would say, You are fantastic on stage. You are an amazing presenter. People want to hear from you. And I would say that over and over and over again until I felt more confident and believed in myself. But other than that, I will do affirmations, and I do 21 every night before I go to sleep. So the first thing to focus on is identifying what your beliefs are and therefore your identity. Then identifying what it is that you want to think about life, about people, about yourself, and finding a way to change your beliefs, to rewrite those. And for me, that's affirmations. The other thing you have to do is to be committed to change. Now, I talked at the beginning how change can be difficult, it can be scary, and therefore many people will put it off before they've even begun. And so in order for a lasting change to happen, you do need to be committed to it. You need to decide that you want to change and that you want to see them through. And you've got to be honest with yourself. You know, actually admitting to yourself what you believe. Like, it was really hard for me initially to say that I thought that I was unlovable, and every time I said those words, like, just tears just fall out of my eyes, because it was hard to admit that. I mean, I knew I was feeling it inside, but to actually put words to it was really hard, and it took for me to dig deep and just really be honest with myself about how I felt about myself, because once I'd acknowledged it, I was able to do something about it. But if you don't know it's there, then you're just stuck with it. So be committed to change, be very honest with yourself, and then focus your efforts on the strongest forms of change, your beliefs, your values and identities. And then we want to create some new habits. These habits which are going to help you to improve your beliefs and identity. So that's affirmations, maybe journaling, taking the time out to identify what your values and your beliefs are. Maybe meditation or yoga, something that gives you the mental space to allow these thoughts to come in and for you to process what it is that's going on in your mind. So new healthy habits that will allow you to implement these lasting changes. And then something that really helps, and certainly has helped in my journey, is to be held accountable. Now, that could be a partner, it could be a friend, or it could be a coach of some description, but somebody that's going to call you out on the bullshit that you tell yourself. So for example, the voice that I would use externally was that money is really easy to come by, that money doesn't change people, that it doesn't make you evil. But actually, I needed someone to say to me, if not myself then someone else, actually, Natalie, you're talking shit, because in the back of your mind, there's a whole other load of voices and contradictory opinions going on there. So somebody to call you out on what you are telling yourself, and not being honest with yourself, really. So someone to call you out that can see past the bullshit that you're telling yourself and just say, hang on a minute, do you really think that, or do you really believe that? The other place that accountability can be helpful is when you're implementing these new habits. So for example, journaling, right? A lot of people will say, I don't want to do that, because it requires you to be honest and open about how you feel, and it's a lot easier just to avoid it. Yeah. Which, so with my clients, I would often say, right, I want you to commit to journaling. How many times a week are you going to do this? And then I'll get them to confirm that they've done it, because otherwise, without somebody there initially kind of being on their case to get them to do it, it's so easy just to say, I'm not going to do it. Yeah, they just back off from it, because we avoid the things that are difficult and uncomfortable. Yeah. Same with affirmations. They are uncomfortable. It feels weird talking to yourself in the mirror. It feels weird saying things that I don't actually believe. Yeah. And so sometimes, without somebody there nagging you or spurring you on or holding you accountable to do those things, again, you will just avoid them. You will just not do them. And guess what? Without those things to change and focus on your values and beliefs, you're not going to move any further forward. So they are my top tips for implementing lasting change. Be committed, be honest, focused on the strongest forms, which are your values and your beliefs, which inform your identity. Create new healthy habits, and consider somebody of some form holding you accountable to put those in place, so that you don't avoid those things that are initially uncomfortable. Thank you for watching my video. If you enjoyed that, why not subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to hit the notification button,
That way you'll be alerted anytime I post a new video, and you won't miss my top tips on how to live a happy, healthy, stress-free life.